Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for being here. I did not vlog like in 2 days in a row because I figure out that when you feel pressured to do something and you do it, it's not out of love. And I don't want to do anything that is not out of love. So these vlogs will be made when I'm inspired and when I have important things that I want to share when it is with love. Okay? In this case, the way I want to transmit my love is in the way of my ideas. I want to spread them and share my process and what I feel and what I've experienced. And if it makes sense to you, that way you won't feel so alone in this weird or atypical kind of life that we've been chosen to live or inherited, and we have to deal with it. Okay, so share this blog if you want to. You never know who's gonna make this make a difference in somebody else's life. And subscribe, share, click on the notification bell so that as soon as something new is available, you can have it, you can see it. Give it a thumbs up if you want to. It doesn't matter if you do or not. This is something that is just for information, maybe entertainment, and what else? That's it. So I'm just gonna share it, and I will be doing these videos as long as I want to, and as long as I feel like I have something to share. Okay, all right, this is the blog number 4, I believe. I was doing this series in which I wanted to connect the dots because I really think that my extrasensory perception and the paranormal activities that I experience are something that I was born with. It's congenital. It's like maybe somebody inherited from their grandparents the ability to play music. I didn't get that. I cannot even sing, but I got this other thing, and it has helped me my whole life. In a way, I'm a person who loves being alone, but I'm never lonely. So that in itself, it's a great thing. And I have made my decisions based on what I feel, which is most of the time on intuition. I study a lot. I'm self-taught in a lot of things. I do have university credits, 174. That's like a master degree, but I have studied what I want, and but I'm constantly looking for more information in everything. Books, TV, internet. So that's just, I call myself an info junkie. So if you're like that, know that you're not alone. And that's one thing that I really like. I like to tell people that we're not alone in this weirdness, and we're not crazy. This is just a different thing, and it's okay. You can be weird. At some point, we will stop being weird. We might become the norm. And if it does not happen, it is okay as well. You're not supposed to make sense to people, period. As long as you don't do harm to others, and you're kind, and you try to improve on a daily basis, that's a great thing. No harm in that. So the last thing I explained in my other blog was that I was really interested in this, what is the name, archaeological site, because the name of it was something it told me something. It was, if I read it in Spanish, it meant Ayan Semi, which is, like I explained in that other blog, is found God, or in, if I want to use the Yoruba meaning, it means they found a lot of money. And the way I see it, the way I want to interpret this information, is like something important was found there. Okay, and that takes me to this notion that I feel, and it's that, you know what, people who are fans of movies, they look for the Easter bunnies, and I think that's a term that was also used in the for when it came to video games. Easter bunnies, or Easter eggs, is what I want to use. I'm sorry. Easter bunny, that's just stupid. I'm sorry. Well, it's Easter eggs. It's like little clues that they are interwoven with. If it's an animated movie, well, they might, add a little something that connects that movie with another one, either a past one, or the brand, or a future movie. The same thing happens with games. I remember when I had the Atari and the Nintendo, there was always something that it was only the people who would take the time to really, really figure out the game, or buy newspapers, or buy specific magazines that had information provided by the people who produced the game, or other gamers they were really hardcore fan, and they figure out each and every little detail. They would find and tell people like little extra things that normally you wouldn't find in the game, and it just made it really, really, really interesting, and you would go for it because that made you special in a way. Like, if you can see that, you're paying attention, and that's really cool. And if you heard about it and you do your best and you are able to get it, that's just really cool. It's like a bonus point. So why am I saying things like that? Another example of that is, if you saw the movie Interstellar, which I love, there's something that was happening, and I'm not gonna spoil anything. Something was happening that in a way triggered a series of events. Okay, in the movie, you have to watch it, but in the movie, in the end, you get to understand how that happened, that trigger developed or came to be, and how, when it did a full circle, how it makes sense. So in this journey that I'm trying to understand at this point, I think that, like, this place name and the information I've been finding throughout this, let's say, like 3 years, I've been finding some sort of Easter eggs, and every time I do find one, I feel like, aha, this makes sense. It may not make sense to anybody else, but it does make sense to me, and it's just like a confirmation of, yeah, okay, no, this is not normal. This was placed here so that I knew that this is the way. It's like Hansel and Gretel, it's like, then this is what I think. I think my spirit has reincarnated, but in between one lifetime and the other, I have like planted some clue along the way, or made sure that in the next life I would remember something, or would connect the dots between one action or one information with whatever I'm working towards. I really think that's the case. And I believe that the reason why we reincarnate, and the reason why we may do it here in the same planet as humans, is because we belong here. And not just because we belong here, but this is where we want to always exist. And it may not be the best place to exist at this moment because we have war and famine and illnesses, but it is possible that with whatever we do on each lifetime, we at some point will have the perfect planet with super avid or abundance of food, and no illnesses, and perfect climate. And if the climate cannot be controlled, maybe we will have the perfect solution for our kind, humankind, and our animals and plants to be able to subsist beyond whatever happens. So we might do it alone. We may connect with other beings, connect with other civilizations at some point, and continue from that point on with assistance. But I do know that we're not alone, and I have an idea, I have this sort of knowledge or strong belief that we as a species, we were helped. And I already explained about Neolithic and Mesolithic and Paleolithic, and how the human were, you know, first in Africa, and then they moved, and then they sort of met after an ice age or two. And here's the thing, I think that, okay, we in Africa, we were already starting to use tools like primates use tools. But I think it was more towards when we already were using fire, and later we were already cooking, and at some point we began to deal with metals. And I think that's where we really got our first intervention from another society, because that's just, I understand cooking because spontaneous fires, they happen all the time. They are currently consuming California, and animals who perish during a fire, well, they, in the end, they were cooked, and it was easier for humans to chew that meat, and it may have somehow increased the taste, you know, I don't know, you know, fat and fire and hunger. That's a perfect combination. We look for that. We want the smell of meat with, and I know, I'm sorry for those vegetarians, but I'm not one. But that's primal, okay? And we learned that meat that's been cooked by the fire is easier to chew. So we started cooking everything. But when it comes to metal, that's alchemy. That's just a lot of other things. And I believe that, you know, we needed the intervention from another civilization to take us to that point. I don't know if they were extraterrestrials or if they were here and they're not here anymore, but you know, because everything has a beginning and an end. And even though we do reincarnate, that's my belief, as a society, at some point, we are either going to assimilate or we're going to disappear. That's what in biology, that I guess everything does that. Energy does that. And so I think that we were given instructions on how to cope, on how to develop agriculture, and how to make new tools and improve our technology. I think that's where my spirit was attached to this world. And I know it sounds just why. It's just a feeling. It's just like many other things that I either accept or reject. This is one of those. I think us, the people who are interested in helping other human beings and helping Earth, I believe that we belong to that group. At least I think I am. Those group that were intervened with. Okay? And why? Because of like my life purpose. That is something that I feel like doing. And sometimes I don't want to, but it's because I feel pressured. And again, if I feel pressured to do something, that's not out of love. And at this point of my life, I am about love and I'm about teaching. Those two things. All right? So I think we were told that they would be back, or there almost every culture speak about beings that came from outside, either the planet or outside the continent. I don't know, I wasn't there, but that's like a norm, and they were considered gods. To me, God is the creator of the energy, but whatever came here was another living species. No, something like at that level of being God, the creator. I don't think God needs to take human form. And I'm sorry, I was raised Catholic, but actually, God himself never took human form. He explained that he sent his son, which people say is the same, and the Holy Spirit is the same. That's Catholic. That's not shared, in every religion, but it makes sense if you want to go with that. Anyways, this is the longest log ever, but it's okay because I need to finish with this information in order to move on. And if you haven't changed, like stop this vlog and you're here, hey, this is for you, and thank you so much. All right, so I believe in full circles, okay? And I really think that those of us that back then in the Neolithic era, when we were genetically modified in order to evolve and actually help this planet, our planet, I think we are back to a point where in our lifetime we're seeing what the places we were working with or we were at. And that's when I'm talking about 10,000 years ago. Okay, I really believe that there were many advanced civilizations, but the ones that we can relate to are those that were contemporary to Sumerian. And here's another point, and this might be the most important part, so if you're here at 20 minutes, you get this information and you do whatever you think you need to do with it. I really believe that the Sumerian people were capable of traveling by air, by the sea, and also across the continents like we do today. Cars, or maybe motorcycles, something like that, you know, on land, but really fast. Maybe portals, not even walking, but they were like the army that dealt with whatever had to do inland. I believe those were the Sumerians that used their helmet with the horns. I think those Sumerians that used the helmet that looked like birds, I think those were sort of the Air Force, the team that would fly over to other continents or in the same continent, but they would be the ones who would be in charge of flying to every point. And those who were dressed with fish costumes were sort of the naval group, okay? And they would probably be those in charge of going to the little islands or bring whatever shipment they needed to bring from one country to the other or one continent to the other through the rivers and through whatever that was you can sail on it, okay? So why do I think so? Well, going back to 10,000 years ago, we have these archaeological sites like Göbekli Tepe and this Helen Semi. Those places go back to that era, and those people were already dealing with astronomical information. The petroglyphs and the hieroglyphs and most of the information that's available from that era explain something that has to do with also Hopi and Anasazi and what else? Other cultures in, well, everywhere in the world. They knew about floods, they knew about New World, they talk about giants. All that information is all over in every continent, in almost every culture. That's the information. So that means, you know, between the hominids and the Sumerians, there were many thousand, if not millions, of years of civilization. And what we have now is we have finally uncovered information that was left in material that will not biodegrade because it's solid. We have the Sumerian tablets, and we have Göbekli Tepe, and we have megalithic monuments, and it's now up to us to use our imagination, use our extrasensory perception, and go back to that information. When I went to the pyramids, I have to touch them. When I saw the structural construction, I knew, I got the information, and I believe that the reason why we can go to those places and people like me, we can subtract the information is just to confirm that we are here for a purpose and that we need to inform other people who are either thinking this is a possibility, or um, feeling that this is happening, but they don't know who. I mean, they might think they are alone, and they don't think that's my cat. She's scratching the door. She wants to come in, but no. Okay, I've been talking for almost half an hour, but it's important. So I think that's the reason why at this point I am making the connection. Okay, those places are being uncovered so that we can confirm what we feel, what we perceive, and if there are other civilizations that are making contact with us, and now those things are being uncovered, it's just to understand that we don't need to be afraid, that it's okay. I mean, probably when we were about to experience those really bad catastrophes, maybe we did get help. Maybe we were told, this is coming, you need to cover, because Göbekli Tepe was covered. It wasn't like the Sphinx that, sand was pouring on it, hitting on it all the time, and that's when they were refound or rediscovered. It was up to, I mean, it was almost buried. No, it wasn't like that. Göbekli Tepe was buried on purpose. It's been scientifically proven. Shh! No! She wants to come in and snuggle. I'll do that later. So, okay. Not only Sumeria was happening, they sent people to every continent, and the information that they were managing was reflected in most of the other depictions that these other cultures portrayed in whatever information still exists. And I want to connect the people from Sumeria to the people in the New World, in the Americas. Specifically, okay, Sumerian, they were in that area of what is Middle East, Uruk and all that. However, when you go to the Olmec history and the Mayan history, you will see in the Dresden Codex and also in the giant headstones in Mexico, in that area, which is the same area as where, it's near the equator. That area was the best area when it comes to climate. It was the most stable climate. And the handbag, I came to the conclusion that handbag, which is in the Göbekli Tepe megalithic structures carved into the stone, you'll see many of them in the Sumerian stones relief and all that. You see that again. And if you go to America, the Mayans, let's say, besides being aware and knowledgeable of astronomy and math, they also had their bags. The bags, it's nothing different from what we use it for today. We carry our money, we carry our wealth, we carry our necessities in those bags. I know it might look like mysterious stuff, and I know some people in the science community have said that those bags were filled with pollen, and that those acorn shaped objects that look as if they were sort of putting the pollen on the tree. I really think those are cacao fruit. Okay, I think those trees are cacao trees, and I think they carry those seeds from Sumeria to where they could plant it. Cacao and chocolate, which is the end product, one of them, can be, I mean, it's really high in alkaloids, and it's, you know, we women in specific, we love chocolate, and there's a reason why we do love it. And there's a reason why it's one of the biggest industries in the world, and it was for many thousands of years considered as currency. In fact, the Aztecs, when Hernan Cortez went there, they gave him a lot of that. That was for the elite. It was not just gold. Gold was important, but actually the cacao beans were more important. That was considered money. And if you look into it and you figure out how many things can be done with that, there's even alcohol. You can make alcohol with it. Actually, it's one of the first things were done with cacao. It got fermented, and it was sort of a beer, okay? And the Sumerians, the Anunnakis, were known for their beer recipes. But you cannot grow cacao in the Middle East. I think now it's being, I mean, back then, they chose areas. One was for gold mining and, you know, like labs. And back there, I mean, in the Americas, where they basically use it as a garden. That's where they planted all these things that were in the best condition, in Amazona, all of that, okay? And okay, for example, the Olmecs, they had a Mexican, there was a language that I compare, and it's pretty much comparable to the language of that area from Sumeria, okay? In America, they use O, the letter O, a lot. Or not a lot, but more than in Sumeria, because in Sumeria they didn't use it. Mehisokian. Well, that's the language that the Olmecs were using, okay? And after the Olmecs were the Maya. The Maya were obsessed with blood, and they were obsessed with chocolate, okay? With the cacao. Again, those two things, in my opinion, they had to see it. They have to understand, and the Aztecs as well. They had to see, and the Incas. I mean, we do not like blood per se. I mean, a lot of people just faint when they see blood. And human, when it comes to blood, there's, you know, unless you're a doctor, you know, there's no real reason to spill blood. We don't want blood at all. We want blood where they need to be, you know, where it needs to be, in our vessels, in our veins, not outside. That's why we get freaked out every time we see blood, because it shouldn't be out of your body. It should be contained. But it is very possible that they thought, seeing these gods, maybe doing lab tests to know if the population was healthy. Maybe they were like connecting, oh, you know, and maybe they were doing it only with probably the elite, whomever they were dealing with. They saw that they were drawing blood. Maybe they were checking on their heart with this, you know, different things, and that may be what caused them to think that those were the things that the gods really wanted. Who knows? I mean, but that's what I think. It's connecting the dots. Also, if you see in the Mayan hieroglyphs, you'll see people with feathers on their head, people looking like you know, with the different costumes that in a way imitate people in Sumeria. In Sumeria, the teachers, because the people were taught, you know, they had schools, the teachers were called like brothers, and depending on their hierarchy, they were the big brother, like in the middle, or younger. It's the same in Maya. It's the same thing. And in some of the Olmecs, they have Negroid, like African characteristics. And the Mayan, whenever you see a Native American, you'll see the tan color, the golden color, but they also depicted what they call the obsidians. And for example, they were in one of those depictions, there are three sitting next to the leader of the Mayan, and they were wearing sort of African attire, you know, like just taparrao, you know, like the skirt, and their headpiece looked like the headpiece from the pharaohs, which is the tall hat with just, it looked like a it looked, in that depiction, it looks like a feather, but if you really see the shape in compare it, it's in Egypt, it was looked as a cobra. Here in the New World, it's like a feather, but it's almost the same shape, okay? And if you see the flower of the cacao tree, and you see the shape of the leaves, you can find those same shapes in the Sumerian depictions. For example, their bracelet, if you see the shape of those flowers, and you see like botanical representations, like the drawings of either cacao, the fruit itself, or the flowers, you'll see those. It's the same thing. And I'm thinking, well, maybe the people who had to travel back and forth, and they probably had like scanners and everything we have today, maybe like when you go to Disney World and you have those bracelet that have all your information, it's electronic. Maybe they were in charge of either taking dates from, like the fruit dates from Egypt to the elite in the New World, and bring over the cacao for scientific purposes, or you know, like a lot of people, wealthy people, they can enjoy certain food items or alcohol, or you know, because they're so expensive and they're not available for everybody. I would think that those commodities like the cacao and maybe the dates from Egypt or Uruk, maybe it wasn't something that was for everybody and only the elite, the people who were back and forth, maybe just these groups, they consumed it, okay? And that's why it wasn't available for everybody else. So, okay, 40 minutes. But I'm glad because I needed to get this out of me, put it in there, and move on to other things. Okay, if we are doing a full circle, and this information, we're finally connecting the dots and come to terms with the fact that we may be spirits that belong to this planet, and our job is to help others to move forward, find peaceful resolutions, give new ideas, help the planet become healthier. I have a Prius. I'm doing what I can do. If I can recycle, I will recycle. I take care of animals. I try to be a constructive person, not just for me, but for the people I'm dealing with. I think I'm doing what I can, and I think it's the full circle. I mean, I think when I go on my break, the next time I come over, if the internet's still available and I have a different personality and a different name and nationality, and maybe I'm a man, who knows, and I come across this video, I'll probably think, oh, this makes sense to me. Let me hear it. There's some familiarity with it. This would be my Easter egg. Okay? This might be one of yours too. So I think that's mainly the gist of it. It's like not only civilization was occurring in Sumeria, it was also happening in every part of the planet. And we just, I guess these people had the most advanced form of communication, and it's still, we have it, and now we're in there, and they left us so many things that now we can see it, we can think, okay, yes, this makes sense, and it has a purpose, and this might be the purpose. We are here, and it's worth living here, it's worth being kind to one another, it's worth making sure this planet is better for our kids when they arrive, and our grandkids, and all of, you know, every generation to come over. And how this connect with me? Well, I spoke about the Aztecs, okay? And Hernán Cortés. With Hernán Cortés, he brought two cousins that were helping him. Moctezuma's daughters married those two guys, those two cousins. Their last name were Grau, Amagrau. So, I really think that at some point, that's an Easter egg. You know, like, I was really interested in finding out the root of my language, the root of my genealogy, you know, where I came from, who were my ancestors. I'm not saying it was Moctezuma. He might be it, but I'm saying I have a last name that's connected to Moctezuma, and there's a book about it, and his daughters went to live to Spain, and also his son, and they multiplied, and they were Grau. So there's a lineage of Moctezuma Grau. Am I connected to it? Maybe. I don't know. I'm 62% European from that area. So the possibility is pretty high. And like I said, grau, if you look for the meaning, it's gray, and if you look for grace, it's extraterrestrials. And again, I'm not saying that we were dealing in the past with extraterrestrial, but we may have. But if it's not, I'm just really interested, okay? And I think those are the little breadcrumbs that have been taking me to this point, which is the important thing. I cannot deal with what happened in the past. I only have the present, okay? And the present, to me, is beautiful. It's hard. It's a job. But I look forward to becoming a grandmother when the time is right, obviously. But I do love this planet. I do love humanity. And even though I'm an empath and I haven't developed ways to take care of me in the way I should, and I will, that doesn't mean that I will continue you know, not considering to the full extent what I'm capable of. Okay, I'm sharing this with you. Many people will see it, maybe nobody will see it, and maybe this is just for me to connect with it on the next round. Okay, but it doesn't matter. The important thing is that the information that I'm giving you guys is what I've concluded out of years of studying, and it just makes sense to me. It doesn't need to make sense to a lot of people. There's a lot more information. I've talked a lot, but I haven't gone to what are the hard evidence. But having said this, and if you are still watching, from now on, what I think I'm going to do is whatever I feel like sharing with you guys, either about this subject or many other subjects that I'm interested, I'm just gonna be sharing it with you. So I'm gonna leave you with that. I really thank you for having the patience and the interest to follow me up to here, okay? And we're not alone, and we're not crazy. And that's it. Thank you so much. The information is available. Everything I've talked about is available on the internet. So go ahead and check it out if you're interested. See you when I see you. Bye-bye, and thank you.